This is Tarron with Twist and Mesquite Performance Horses. We are on a mission to create a world-class 2-year-old program that specializes in the rein cow horse. This week we're doing a review with Whiz. This is her 7th week in our program. The groundwork we're doing with her is the same as we're doing with Cinco, so we just decided we were going to show you on one of them. That way, you know, both of them, I would say this horse, just like on the saddle, it's kind of the same on the ground, where she has a big motor, she wants to go somewhere, and so it's pretty consistent. How they act on the ground is pretty consistent with how they ride at this point at this point in their training. And so with her, I just kind of wanted to show some of the exercises we're doing, working with her on, and kind of go from there, and then we'll get in the saddle and kind of show you where we've been working, all the riding exercises we've been working with her as well. So we've just saddled her. She's and just walked her over here. So I want to, on the ground, work on their flexing. So we're going to do this every time that we're doing these groundwork exercises. We want to make sure that we're doing desensitizing exercises and flexing. So getting soft, bending their head around, and giving that pressure softly. On this side, she seems to be a little stiffer on both the ground and under saddle, and so when I go to pick up on her, I pick up on this rein, and if she's leaning on it at all, I'm going to bump her off of it and then and bring her back this way until she gives it softly all the way around. So I want her to touch right now, her shoulder or the fender of the saddle, and I want her to do it very lightly, just with very light pressure off of this halter. And so when I pick up lightly, and I want her to continue following that around. And if she doesn't, she's leaning on that, I'll bump her off of it. And it's going to be the same when I'm riding her. When I go to flexing her, I want to pick up softly, and if she leans on it, I want to bump her off of it. To where see right there, that's good, because she's already coming around without me asking her. She's anticipating it, and so that's a good problem to have. I would rather she's thinking about coming around, coming around and following that pressure. I want to, with this desensitizing, I want to throw this lead rope all over her. I could do the same. I could be doing it with a plastic bag or a flag or a string. She got a little worried about that back leg right there, so we'll just continue on. I have noticed with her on this leg, she's a little more concerned about it, and that is where she has that scar. And so we definitely, for me, if a horse has an injury or has something that they're kind of silly about, like with her, she's kind of silly about her head a little bit, so we've made sure to work on it. If a horse has a problem, if they have a place that, for me, in my opinion, if they have something that they're worried about that they're really silly about or anxious about. Maybe there was an old scar there, maybe there was an old injury there, something happened there at some point. The why that happened is not as important to me. That it's not as important to me as the reality that that thing has happened. And so what do I mean by that? I mean that if I throw this rope at that back leg and she's concerned about it, or I go to pick up that leg and she's concerned about it, why she got hurt or that she got hurt is pretty irrelevant to me in this state, because my job is to make this horse as safe as we can make him, and to work through all of those spots on this horse that this horse is worried about. And so if this horse is worried about her back leg because she got hurt at some point, that's fine. But the reality is I've got to help her work through that problem, and that's my job. And so, like I said, the why is not as important to me as the is in this moment, that she is worried about it. And so, like, even picking this back leg up, she does it very quickly and erratically, where she's still kind of concerned. Or there was just, whenever she got hurt, or maybe when they were doctoring her or whatever, it was kind of a fight. And so she kind of remembers a little bit of that. And so our job, even if something happened to these horses, our job is to address it, and not, we might have to address it a certain way, kind of go about it a certain way, but our job is to help them build confidence in that area again, to where they don't have a problem or they're not concerned about that spot with them anymore. That gelding that we have, he had an injury as a 2-year-old before we got him, and to his eye, and ever since I got him, he has had that. He's kind of been head shy, and I ignored it for a long time, where what I should have done was address it. How can we get him comfortable with putting things around his head and getting things around his head and making sure I can rub all over him and I can run a flag up and around his head and address that and build his confidence. And so that's what I mean, because we want to build these confidence. If we find a spot where this horse is saying, no, I don't want you to touch me there, I don't want you to be around me, we have to go to that spot and build confidence around that area to where that horse is not concerned about that spot anymore. So just a good little side note there. But so I desensitized her, I flexed her on both sides. Another thing we're working on is the circle driving. It's to me, it is a good exercise to where I want them it gets them thinking about leading up beside me. It gets them thinking about being soft and bending around me, bending and getting soft around me. And we're going somewhere. And then I've also noticed it's good to have this, it kind of, especially a colt, when I do this with them, before I get on them, we have this stick up and around, and we can kind of make this, we have it up here, and just that stick being around them while they're moving, I've noticed it kind of helps them get used to it, something being up above them. But this same way, she gets a little worried about it, I don't want to quit her while she's throwing a fit. I want to make sure that we do the exercise that we were needing to do, and let her relax in that. Let her know that that's the right answer. See, I want her to be closer to me, not trying to get away from me, not trying to get out of the circle. The other side was really good, but we're just going to keep working on this side right here till she relaxes. and goes around this circle. She can act up all she wants, throw a little fit, that's fine. You know, we've got to have confidence in what we're doing so that these horses have confidence. I remember that I got that from Chris Cox when I was watching watching a colt starting DVD from him, and that was one of the first things that he said. He said that he's like, you've got to be confident working around these horses. You can't be tiptoeing around them or concerned, or you've got to be confident when you're working around these young horses so that they can be confident. They can be, you know, you are their leader. You're leading them, and so whenever they're in this spot to where they're a little unsure, you need to be confident in what you're doing so that you can get in there and help them through it. And so, you know, I didn't quit her when she was throwing a fit, when she was rearing up, any of that stuff. All of that was, she was a bit anxious. She was a little bit concerned about what we were doing. She's maybe a little confused. And so I want to make sure that we don't quit them until they're doing the right thing. Now, if there was a situation to where it's maybe a dangerous situation, or you need to stop the situation because things are getting out of hand, maybe because you're not exactly sure why that horse is acting that certain way, or maybe more so for a lack of knowledge, then at that point, yes, you need to stop and go get some help. But this horse is thinking, I think what it is, this horse is thinking that, you know, I'm stepping in front of that drive line, instead of her realizing that I want her to keep moving forward. She's thinking I want her to stop and go back the other way. And so she's just kind of anticipating it. And so she's just having to work through that. But anyway, like I was saying, you want to have the confidence in what you're doing so that when you ask a horse to do something, maybe they're confused or they don't know, you need to have the confidence to be able to quit them when they know, when they're doing the right thing. And so right here, I'm going to let her rest here in a second when she does what I want her to do. And just like that, let her rest, let her think about it. To where she thinks about it and she realizes that's what we were wanting her to do, and she can kind of start to relax and wind down. We'll go back this other side. See, this side, she's more relaxed. She's traveling around really well. And this is more what I want that other side to look like. Where she's even got a lower head about her. She's more relaxed on this side. There, that was a lot better. She didn't get too concerned when I asked her to change direction and come back around. That was a lot better. See, we have to have the patience to be able to work through some of that overreaction or some of that erratic behavior that these horses will give you at some points. And to know, you know, it's not as much of having patience, but it's knowing that if I continue on here and having the confidence, you have the confidence in knowing that if I stick with it, this horse is going to figure it out. He may take a little longer than something else, than another horse, but just knowing that if I stick with it and I don't quit that horse in a bad spot, I quit that horse when he's doing what I want him to do, eventually it will continue to get better, and it will continue to progress, and that horse will continue to learn. See, that horse, you know, these horses, they learn from the release of that pressure. And so when we release that pressure, when they're doing what we want them to do, they're going to start thinking about that and think about, how can I get back to that same point to where he released that pressure. And so I'm going to do that one more time with her. Make sure that we kind of reinforce. We got to a good spot right there, and I want to reinforce that and make sure we quit. We let her rest and quit with her doing that exercise really well. Kind of build her confidence with it. See, just like that. And just let her rest a second, and she got a little worked up right there. So I'm going to go back and desensitize her, let her sit, think about it, process. Another exercise we've been working on is leading beside. And so I want to be able to bring this horse up to me. You see, at this point, I can get this horse out of my space. I can move this horse up, and I can get him. I can get her out. I can move her over, get her up out of my space at any point. And at this point, this horse, I have this horse's respect to where, you know, I'm not concerned about her being right here. And this is definitely not something that I would teach a colt that I haven't gone and done some other preparation groundwork with. But at this point, this is what I'm working on with her. So I want this colt to be able to travel up right next to me. And if she lags behind, I want to be able to just pick up on that lead rope and her get back in position. And so you can imagine how handy this is teaching these colts, especially if you've had one that you had to just drag around. You just had to drag that horse around, and he'd barely come with you, or a horse that was pushing over the top of you. And so I want to be able to walk all around this pen here with her right next to me. And later on this week, we're going to work on this at a trot, as you know, well, some be my jog, but her trot, to where, see, she wasn't respecting that halter a whole lot. When I'm turning, I want her to stay up beside me. So if she lags behind, I'm going to kiss to her, and I might touch her with this stick back there, make sure that she comes back up here to this position. When I stop, I want her to stop. Same with this side. I want to be able to do it on this side here. This horse, she even when we got her, she didn't really have a problem with being up close to you leading, but it's a really handy thing to teach these horses. You know, I had a horse that I didn't know how to teach these horses to to lead very well. Now, I didn't understand. I just figured they'd figure it out, or maybe whoever halter broke them taught them, and that was just it. But here is it. Here's one way to do it, to where I want this horse to feel that halter pressure and to get off of it. And so that means right here means I have a short rein, and I have this horse leading right next to me, and she's not trying to drag behind. She's not trying to run over top of me. She's just staying right next to me. And so it's a really handy exercise that I'm glad we teach our colts, so that you even imagine you see a bunch of horses that they lead through a cell ring. Well, those horses, this is where they have them. They're leading them right here, showing that horse off to those that are in that cell ring or outside that cell ring looking to buy that horse. And so even stuff like this, you're teaching those horses fundamental things that they need to know, no matter if you're going to take them home and you're going to lead this horse from the pasture or from the arena back to where you're saddling them and unsaddle them, or you're going to take this horse on and sell him. These things right here, where you teach these colts practical skills that are going to serve them no matter who owns them. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. And then it's also, you teach them these things, these fundamental things. Well, this horse starts regressing, then anybody that knows how this horse was trained, which they could always go back and look at our videos, they could go back and work on this and go and fix those holes, or fix where, remind this horse so that they can fix whatever problem they're having. This horse starts regressing and not doing this as they should.